9 adventurers ventured into the frozen wasteland of the Ural Mountains, never to return. What searchers uncovered weeks later defied belief. A tent torn open from within, scattered footprints in the snow, lifeless bodies found in haunting conditions, some with strange injuries, and others crushed by forces defying explanation. Was this the result of a natural disaster, a classified experiment, or something even more unthinkable? With strange traces of radioactivity, cryptic evidence, and a government inquiry cloaked in silence, the Dyatlov Pass mystery remains one of the most unsettling enigmas in modern history. What truly transpired on that frozen mountainside? Let's explore this chilling tale that continues to puzzle and terrify to this day. What happened on the Dead Mountain? January 23, 1959, 10 young souls stood at the threshold of history, each carrying not just gear, but dreams, camaraderie, and a hunger for adventure. Yet fate had something far darker in store for them on the slopes of Kholat Syakhl, the Dead Mountain. At the heart of this expedition was their leader, Igor Dyatlov, just 23 years old, a radio engineering student whose meticulous planning and courage inspired trust. Beside him was Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22, an engineering student known for her unwavering determination. And then there was Rustem Slobodin, 23, an athletic mechanical engineer, always ready to push boundaries. The joker of the group, Yuri Krivonishenko, 24, was always the life of the party, while Yuri Doroshenko, 21, had once stared death in the face, fending off a bear in a previous trek. The youngest member, Lyudmila Dubinina, just 20, was as tough as the terrain they ventured into. Meanwhile, Alexander Kolevatov, 24, a nuclear physics major, carried a keen scientific mind. And then there was Semyon Zolotaryov, the outlier, a 38-year-old World War II veteran who joined the group last minute, a man with secrets of his own. Lastly, Yuri Yudin, the 10th member. Plagued by illness, he left the group early, a decision that spared him the grim fate that awaited the others. Little did he know he'd never see his friends again. Armed with cutting-edge equipment for the time, canvas tents, wooden skis, and winter gear designed to survive the Siberian cold, the group was prepared for the challenges ahead. Cameras and journals captured their journey, now the only witnesses to the horrors that awaited. But Kholat Syakhl, the Dead Mountain, was no ordinary peak. Its name alone carried whispers of doom. Locals, the Mansi people, spoke of ancient curses and foreboding spirits that haunted its icy slopes. Their goal, the summit of Otorten, a forbidding peak 10 kilometers north of the Dead Mountain. The route was a Category 3, the most challenging for any trekker. But for these skilled adventurers, it was a worthy test of their mettle. The Soviet winter was merciless. Temperatures plunged below -30 and winds roared like invisible predators. Yet the group's spirits remained high. They were determined to conquer the wild and return triumphant, but by February 1st, 1959, they had vanished. What was the horrifying discovery? February 26, 1959. Nearly a month after the group's final communication, hope was fading. A search party, composed of fellow students, experienced hikers, and military personnel, made a grim discovery on the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl, the Dead Mountain. What they uncovered was nothing short of chilling. The Dyatlov group's campsite lay before them, silent, snow-covered, and deeply disturbing. The tent, their lifeline in the wilderness, was found in disarray, partially collapsed and disturbingly damaged. Upon closer inspection, it was clear that the canvas had been slashed open from the inside, not from an attack, not from external forces, but from within, as if the hikers had frantically clawed their way out, abandoning their only shelter in a panic that served explanation. Even stranger, their belongings, boots, warm clothing, food supplies, and essential equipment remained untouched inside the tent. It was as if they had fled without considering their survival. What could force such seasoned hikers to abandon not just their shelter, but their very survival instincts? The tent, built to withstand the Siberian winter, had been carefully pitched with its central support beam and thick canvas walls meant to keep out the cold. The entrance, normally secured tightly to protect against snowstorms, was found wide open, allowing snow to drift inside. The scene painted an eerie picture. The hikers had clearly settled in for the night, their gear neatly arranged. Yet, something or someone had driven them out into the freezing abyss. Nearly 1,500 meters from the tent, under a towering cedar tree, the lifeless bodies of Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko were found. Stripped down to their underwear and barefoot, the two young men had braved the freezing night in what could only be described as sheer desperation. A small fire had been attempted beneath the tree, but its flickering flames had provided little comfort in the brutal cold. The tree itself bore marks of their struggle. Broken branches as high as 5 meters suggested that one or both men had climbed it, perhaps to spot the tent or to escape something horrifying on the ground. What could drive experienced hikers to such measures? The searchers were left with only grim speculation. The discoveries only grew darker. Between the cedar tree and the tent, the search team found 3 more bodies: Igor Dyatlov, Zinaida Kolmogorova, and Rustam Slobodin. Their frozen forms were scattered across the slope, spaced apart as if they had collapsed one by one while trying to return to their tent. Each wore only light clothing, hardly enough for survival in the deadly cold. Forensic examination revealed troubling details. Rustam Slobodin had suffered a crack in his skull, though experts determined it wasn't fatal. The positions of the bodies told a haunting story, one of exhaustion, disorientation, and a futile attempt to escape an unknown threat. But the most unsettling discovery came in May 1959, when the snow finally began to thaw. In a ravine, nearly 4 meters under compacted snow, searchers unearthed the remaining 4 hikers: Lyudmila Dubinina, Alexander Kolevatov, Semyon Zolotaryov, and Nikolai Thibault-Brignol. What they found served no explanation and deepened the mystery even further. Unlike the others, these 4 had suffered traumatic injuries: multiple broken ribs, a crushed skull, and most disturbingly, Lyudmila Dubinina's missing tongue and eyes. The injuries were described as being consistent with immense force, far greater than what a human could inflict. And as if that weren't enough, 2 of the victims' clothing tested positive for radioactive contamination, raising even more questions than answers. Theories and speculations with no answers. The discovery of the bodies answered some questions, but it raised even more. Theories emerged almost immediately, each one attempting to explain what could have driven 9 experienced hikers to such a tragic and bizarre fate. Some theories were grounded in logic, others veered into the extraordinary. With no clear answers, the Dyatlov Pass incident became a magnet for speculation, controversy, and chilling possibilities. One of the first and most logical explanations was an avalanche. This theory suggested that a sudden cascade of snow had forced the hikers to slash their way out of the tent and flee into the night. But it didn't hold up to scrutiny. For one, the tent was found partially collapsed but not buried under snow, a critical contradiction to the avalanche theory. Moreover, the footprints leading away from the tent were orderly, not the chaotic scramble you would expect if the group had been caught in such a life-threatening event. Could it be that something else, something far more dangerous, had forced them out? From logical to the fantastical, some believed the hikers were victims of an attack by a Yeti or some other unidentified creature. This theory gained traction as tales of a wild, humanoid beast in the Ural Mountains began to surface. The missing eyes and tongue of Lyudmila Dubinina, along with the violent injuries to other bodies, seemed to add weight to this chilling idea. But skeptics pointed out a glaring flaw. There was no evidence of an animal attack, no claw marks, no tracks. nothing to suggest a predator had been near the campsite that night. Speculation soon turned to the possibility of a Soviet military experiment gone horribly wrong. Some suggested the hikers had unknowingly wandered into a testing ground for parachute mines or radiological weapons. This theory was bolstered by the radioactive contamination found on some of the hikers' clothing, along with the Soviet government's suspicious handling of the case. Much of the investigation was classified, and officials quickly dismissed the deaths as caused by unknown compelling forces. To many, this abrupt conclusion seemed more like a cover-up than an answer. And then there was the UFO theory. Some believed the hikers had encountered something otherworldly, a blinding light, strange shapes in the sky, or perhaps direct contact with extraterrestrial beings. Proponents of this theory pointed to mysterious orbs of light reportedly seen in the area around the time of the incident. Could these unearthly visitors have frightened the group so profoundly that they abandoned all logic and fled into the frozen wilderness? While these theories captured the public's imagination, scientists began to search for more grounded explanations. In January 2021, a study by snow scientist Johann Gaum and geotechnical engineer Alexander Puzrin proposed a new theory, a delayed slab avalanche. According to their model, a combination of the slope's angle, wind, and heavy snowpack could have triggered a compact but powerful avalanche. They argued that the weight of the snow may have caused the hikers to panic, cutting their way out of the tent in a desperate attempt to escape. Gaum and Puzrin suggested that the immense pressure of the snow caused the severe injuries sustained by some of the hikers, resembling blunt force trauma. However, the theory failed to explain several key anomalies: the missing body parts, the radioactive contamination, and the deliberate way the hikers appeared to have left the tent. These unanswered questions kept the mystery alive. Another scientific explanation came from Richard Holmgren, a German archaeologist who retraced the group's steps in 2019. Holmgren proposed that the hikers encountered katabatic winds, fierce, freezing winds capable of creating unbearable conditions. These winds, often described as nature's equivalent of a freight train, could have caused such chaos that the hikers felt they had no choice but to abandon their shelter in search of safety. Holmgren's theory also suggested that disorientation and panic caused by these winds led to poor decision-making, climbing the cedar tree, fleeing into the dark, and ultimately succumbing to the elements. While this explanation accounted for the hikers' bizarre behavior, it left other elements, like the injuries and radiation, unresolved. Even today, some mysteries remain. The hikers' diaries and photographs recovered from the site offered little insight, ending abruptly without warning. Their final entries were routine, updates about the journey, notes on the weather. What happened between those last diary entries and the moment they fled the tent? This missing link in the timeline remains a haunting enigma. Then, there's the lingering question of the radioactive contamination. Could it have come from the environment, or was it evidence of something far more sinister? The lack of clarity has only added fuel to theories of military involvement or even extraterrestrial interference. And finally, the injuries. Lyudmila Dubinina's missing tongue and eyes, the violent trauma to other bodies. These details have defied explanation. Were they caused by scavenging animals, extreme weather, or something more unnatural? The lack of consensus only deepens the mystery. The Dyatlov Pass incident remains an unsolved riddle, a chilling reminder of how fragile humanity is in the face of the unknown. Perhaps the truth is out there, waiting to be uncovered. Or perhaps it's a secret that will forever remain buried in the snow. The fear of the unknown is the greatest fear of all. If you're intrigued by unsolved mysteries, be sure to subscribe to our channel, share your thoughts in the comments, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the world's most enduring enigmas.